It started with a dare, the kind that comes at the end of a night filled with too much alcohol, laughter that masks unease, and the kind of group energy that makes people do things they'd never consider alone. The legend of Room 313 had floated around the campus for years, passed down through late-night whispers in dorm rooms, mentioned with a smirk during orientation tours, but always with a lingering seriousness that hinted at real fear. Everyone had heard the same core story. A girl named Allison Myers disappeared from that room in 1996, and no one ever found her. No body, no note, just gone. Her name scratched into the paint on the doorframe was the only physical proof she'd ever been there. That, and the room had been sealed off ever since. Officially, the school blamed asbestos or unsafe wiring, but students talked. They said sometimes you could hear crying behind the door, sometimes scratching, and sometimes if you stood still and close enough, someone whispering your name. We weren't believers. Not really, but we weren't skeptics either. We were something in between, cocky enough to mock the story, but not quite brave enough to go alone. So we went together, 4 of us, Jamie, Lucas, Dev, and me, armed with flashlights, a bolt cutter, and a GoPro for Lucas's channel. We made our way through the rusted fence that surrounded the condemned dormitory. The building had been empty for years, windows shattered or boarded up, ivy growing up its sides like veins wrapping around dying skin. The door to the old dormitory was locked with a thick chain, but it gave way after 2 minutes of sawing. Inside, the air was dead, not dusty, not musty, dead. Like it had been cut off from the rest of the world, sealed in its own atmosphere. Our boots echoed on the tile as we made our way down the hall, past rotted doors and collapsed ceiling panels. The numbers on the doors counted up until we reached it, room 313. It looked no different than the others. Just a number plate screwed crookedly into splintering wood. Jamie reached for the knob first, but it was locked. Lucas stepped forward, screwdriver in hand, and picked it without hesitation. The moment it clicked open, everything changed. Room 313 wasn't what any of us expected. After walking through a decayed, collapsing hallway filled with water-stained walls and graffiti, we thought the room would be in ruins, trashed, moldy, forgotten. But when the door opened, we were hit with a blast of cold air and silence that felt far too deliberate. The room was untouched, clean, not just clean preserved. The bed was perfectly made with crisp sheets tucked in tight. The desk lamp glowed with warm, steady light, and there wasn't a single speck of dust anywhere. It looked lived in, as if someone had just stepped out moments before we arrived. On the desk sat a single red notebook, open to the middle, with neat handwriting visible. From across the room, the strangeness of the untouched setting clashed so violently with the decay outside that we all hesitated to cross the threshold. Then someone pointed out the mirror. It was large, tall enough to see your full body, and mounted on the wall across. From the bed, we gathered in front of it without thinking, expecting to see ourselves in its surface. But we didn't. The mirror showed the room behind us, but we weren't in it. No faces, no shadows. It reflected the furniture, the walls, even the light, but we were invisible. That's when the weight in the air changed, becoming heavier, like the pressure before a thunderstorm. We all stared, waiting for something to make sense, but nothing did. It was wrong. Every instinct said we shouldn't be there, that this room didn't follow the rules the rest of the world did. Someone reached out to touch the glass, fingers shaking slightly, and the second their skin made contact, the atmosphere shifted again. Lights dimmed, the floor felt softer. The door slammed shut behind Ustav was the first to vanish, and it happened so fast we didn't even have time to scream. 1 second, he was standing right next to the mirror, hands still resting against the glass, and the next he was just gone. Not sucked in, not pulled, just not there. like he'd been blinked out of existence. We all froze, too stunned to react, too scared to breathe. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. Then Jamie let out a short, broken gasp and pointed to the mirror. Dev was in it, trapped behind the glass, eyes wide with panic, pounding silently against the inside surface. It was the exact same room, reflected perfectly, except Dev was there. And we were not. He couldn't be heard, only seen, his mouth forming words we couldn't understand. We rushed forward, calling his name, trying to figure out what had happened, but there was nothing to do. The mirror was solid, cold, real. We were looking at a prison, and Dev was the inmate, and then it got worse. He stopped panicking. His hands lowered, his face softened, then slowly he smiled. But it wasn't relief, it wasn't joy, it was something else. A knowing grin that didn't belong on Dev's face. Then he stepped out of the mirror, only not really. He was just back, standing, there in front of us again like nothing had happened. But we knew it wasn't him. The way he stood was wrong. The way he looked at us was different. There was no recognition, no fear, no confusion, just calculation. He spoke calmly, said he was fine, didn't remember anything. But the air around him felt darker, like it brought shadows with it. And when we looked into his eyes, we didn't see our friend anymore. The mirror didn't just reflect the room. It decided who stayed in the world and who didn't. That became clear when Jamie disappeared next, not even touching the mirror this time. She had just backed away from Dev, terror on her face, and in a blink she was gone too. No sound, no scream, no trace. Only silence and a new reflection in the glass. Jamie stood where Dev had been earlier, pounding on the inside, her eyes filled with desperation. And beside her now was Dev, still trapped, or maybe always there, watching us, grinning like a spectator waiting for the next act. The rules of the room began to make themselves known, not through logic, but through feeling. One left, one appeared in the mirror. A balance, a trade. The mirror didn't take everyone, it chose who to keep and who to return. But the ones it returned weren't the same. They wore the faces of our friends, used their voices, but moved differently. Like puppets controlled by a hand, we couldn't see Dot, the red notebook on the desk, seemed to pulse with presence. The words inside shifting when we weren't looking. When I flipped to the middle, new sentences had appeared. It needs balance. One stays, one walks free. Not everyone is real anymore. Trust no face once the mirror wakes. Lucas kept repeating that this was a prank, that we were hallucinating, but his voice was cracking. His flashlight shaking so much the beam bounced off the walls like lightning. He backed into the mirror accidentally, and for a moment it shimmered, reacting to his presence, as if tasting him. We didn't dare move too close again. The idea of trading places, of being swallowed by the mirror, trapped in a silent copy of our world, while something else wore our skin, became more terrifying than death itself. I don't remember leaving the room. I don't remember how I got out, or even when one moment I was staring at the mirror. The next I was waking up in my dorm bed with the taste of dust in my mouth and the faint scent of lavender on my clothes. My phone was dead. The GoPro we'd brought was lying on the floor beside my bed, screen cracked, battery drained. I checked the footage later. It showed everything up to the moment the door slammed. After that, just static. No screams, no mirror. No Dav or Jamie or Lucas. They were never seen again. No bodies, no evidence they'd entered the sealed wing. The university claimed we'd trespassed and probably got lost, but they never found any of them. Just me, alone, but I know I didn't come back the same. Some days I feel like I'm still in room 313, like the mirror let me walk free, but didn't release me completely. My reflection doesn't always move when I do, Sometimes it lingers a second too long or smiles before I do, like it's trying to remind me of something. At night, I hear faint knocking from behind the glass. Soft, rhythmic, familiar, like someone who knows me calling me home. People tell me I've changed, but I stare too long into mirrors, that I seem distant even when I'm right in front of them. I feel like a guest in my own body sometimes, like someone else is watching through my eyes. The memory of the room, the silence, the strange light, the reflection that wasn't mine, it never fades. I've covered every mirror in my apartment, taped over them, draped them with cloth, avoided my own gaze for weeks at a time. But still, in dreams, I see myself staring back with eyes that aren't mine.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.